So I'll start.
You start.
I met Shay on Instagram.
Yes.
And I had seen this girl. I was a year sober. So I was kind of on a mission. I wanted to look for people who might have needed to be sober as well.
I wasn't looking so good then.
So we had a couple mutual friends. And I saw Shay and I was like, I really need to invite this girl to church.
I did need the Lord.
She needs Jesus.
I needed Jesus.
Really bad. So, and I mean, if you were to see, hopefully if we get a really good, editor.
Yeah.
We'll, be panning back as I'm talking and showing photos of what she used to look like. Mm-hmm. So I would DM her and talk to her. And actually, just the other day, I screenshotted my first DM message to Shay. And it was in 2014. And it was an invitation inviting her to our Christmas service. And I was like, wow, 2014. So kind of what I got out of that was you never know. You just don't give up on people. Because at the time, I would have never thought, 4 years later, here we are, friends. She's at my church, and we get to spread the love and talk about addiction.
Yeah.
And motherhood and all kinds of other stuff.
Yes. It is amazing. It was around Christmas time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you responded 3 months later.
Yeah, it took me a minute, but I was in a very, very dark place, but I did respond. And that's one of the biggest things is we want to try to help people that have possibly lost hope or feel like they're too far in their addiction, that, it's too much work or they've lost everyone close to them. And we just want you to know that we're here and we have definitely been there. And, we'll get into our stories.
Yeah. And I think for us mainly, we want to let people know, obviously we want to be an outlet. Shay has an awesome background. We want to be able, if you know someone that's struggling, we can direct you where to go. We want to be an outlet also for the normies and then the people dealing with addiction, a loved one in addiction. So we'll have guests come on that, I don't know what it's like personally to live with an addict because I was only an addict with an addict, but a lot of people have messaged Shay and just asked her, what do you do when your husband's an addict and you're not? So
yeah,
just to have people on here who have been through those struggles, that's our goal. And obviously give our backstory and stuff like that. So we'll start with Shay. We're on a time schedule here because real life duties. We're moms, and
I
she's
have to get London up from school.
So tell me, Shay.
Tell you what, Jennifer.
How did it start? We'll just share your, experience, strength, and hope. What was your first? What was your gateway? How did it start for you?
Well, I started very young. I would probably around 8 or 9, I started drinking alcohol. And it wasn't so much because, I was just curious. I was a curious kid, and, it was in the house. Not that it was my family was a lot of fun. They would have get-togethers. Yeah, a lot of fun, okay? A lot of fun. So it just looked like fun. It wasn't like I was doing it to, at the time to numb myself or anything like that. So I would say I started drinking when I was around 9 years old. And then, as I got older, I was hanging out with people, partying, and I had something happen that I'll talk about later on. That was really intense, and, I didn't really know how to deal with that at the time. So I was also very religious. I want to say that I grew up in a family that, we went to church, that whole deal. When I was 7 years old, I went to my mom and I told her I wanted to get baptized, so I grew up in that. And when, something happened, I went the other way. And so I became I didn't know how to handle it. And so I started, doing drugs, and I was an opiate addict. So I loved numbing myself, and so I started doing opiates, pills, and hanging out with people that weren't the best, and so I started doing criminal activity. When I was 15 years old, I stole a car, and a Hummer, a yellow one.
The most obvious,
yeah,
the
biggest car. Hey, so bad, so embarrassing, and so the cops ended up coming to my house, and my family was just like, "This is bad. This is all bad.
Yeah,
we need to figure out something to do." So I went to a behavioral place in Wyoming. It was like a rehab behavior thing for when you're young. You know, I went there for about a year and a half. So, and is it awkward?
No.
Just take it in.
Just
Just embrace it.
Guys, I know this is my first time petting the cat with no hair. I love animals. I love them so much. That's why I'm vegan. So that was okay. So go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I went to this place called Trinity Teen Solution. It was in Wyoming, and I worked on a ranch, and it was super intense. And I'll get into that another time because it ended up getting very abusive. So I kind of came back a little more messed up.
Yeah.
And didn't know how to deal with all that. And so I came back, and then I was sober for a short period of time, and then I thought I could drink and just do like little things here and there, and I got into a relationship that seemed fun in the moment, and it wasn't necessarily healthy because I didn't love myself, and I didn't really deal with my underlying issues. So I was attracting the wrong people, and I was trying to fulfill things not the right way.
Yeah.
And so, so from then until my sobriety date, I was just struggling, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And, you know, I got highly into criminal activities and just hanging out with people that were telling me I was cool and like, oh, you're so badass or whatever. And you're not, like, you're so embarrassing. And, you know, those things are just not cool. And I was just looking gross with the dark hair, the black hair, the dark eye makeup. And I'm not against anyone who does that, but I looked like a truck, you guys. Like, this Instagram was like, it was bad.
Black extensions.
Yeah.
Straight.
And I thought I looked good, which is crazy. Yeah. Like, I would look in the mirror like, hey, and it's bad. Yeah, even when I post my sobriety stuff now, I like try to be raw so you guys know how bad it was. And some of them I just still can't post because I'm like, wow.
It is night and day, Shay. I have to say, like, when I tell some of my friends your story, particularly, that's such a hard word to say, whatever. Particularly.
Yeah.
I just said it. My friend Marcy, she's a normie, and I'm like, if you were to see what this girl looked like before, you're gorgeous no matter what.
Thank you.
But it's like, it's night and day.
Yeah.
The glow in your eyes, just who you are, your countenance, everything. And then, who you are as a person and your heart for all your friends and stuff like that. It's night and day. And it's obvious, like, family mom. Yes. But, yeah, we'll definitely have to have, like, some editing photos, like, flashing of your before.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're doing criminal activity and going in and out of jail, right?
Yeah, so then my sobriety date is April 5th, 2015. And so I ended up going to jail again for stealing a car. And
now wait, let me back up because you have 2 kids now.
Yes.
One 10-month-old and then one, how old is?
She's turning 7 in November.
7. So tell me about during that time.
Yeah, so that was very hard because obviously I, wanted to be clean. I wanted to be good for my daughter. And I really, with everything that was going on, I got out of a really toxic relationship with my ex-husband. And I don't like to put all the blame on him, I am not like that. Like, I definitely had my part in things. But the relationship in general just wasn't healthy. And there was a lot of games going on at the time. And I didn't have the tools to start with to deal with stuff like, the stuff going on, the emotional trauma. And it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I finally just broke. And in my mind, I was thinking at times like, dude, my daughter almost deserves a better mom. Like, I hated myself so much, but I loved her so much. And I really just didn't know how to get out of this hole. Yeah. And I've never been a bad person. Like, I hate even saying that because, I'm her mother. Like, but I never stopped fighting. But yeah, it just seemed overwhelming at the time, and I really just didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know. And, I went to tons of rehabs. I probably, 7? In and out. I was in and out of jail for possession charges at times. I had some anger issues back in the day. I had a few assaults because I just really did not know how to deal with anything, and when I was sad, I would react in anger. Yeah. And I just had so much hurt. And growing up with my dad being a professional hockey player, that's kind of how he, growing up, it was like you don't, in sports and everything, you don't show weakness. You just get up and keep fighting. Yeah. So whether or not, I'm not saying that he wanted me never to have, the emotion of sadness, but that was kind of the mentality I grew up in, is that you fight. You just keep, you know what I mean? And so I kind of took that in a violent way, which wasn't good. Yeah. And that was how I was, I'd go out and drink alcohol and get in fights and stuff. And it, I thought I was just so bad. And it's like, you're so embarrassing again, Yeah. And so anyway,
well, I want to pause you right there, because me and my friend were just talking the other night how, because you have a sister. Yes. And I know you have a brother, too. I don't know much about him, but I see your sister. I know the life that she has. And you guys lived, a good life. It's not like, I know who your stepmom is, and I see your mom, you grew up in Laguna, so it's not like you had a hard life. And, you and your sister both grew up the same, but it seems like you went down a different path than her, right? So it's like, it's just... that's something that gets inside of you. No matter what, you can have two kids in the same environment. Yes. And one will go left a little bit or a lot in your case, a lot. Right?
All the way. But yeah, so pretty much in and out of jail, in and out of rehab, I never took a lot of that serious. And then at one point I even felt like, I got this down because I went to so many rehabs, and I just, I wasn't letting God take charge of my life. I just kept thinking I got this, and nothing ever lasted, because it was almost like I was trying, but I don't know, part of me, So this last time I went to jail, I just was done. I was done. I was broken. I lost my daughter. I lost my freedom. I was looking at a lot of time. I ended up only getting a year with half.
So you
because
spent
I was
a year in.
Well, I was in for 6 months, so I got a year, but I was fighting, and the only reason I got that is because I went into the program of drug court. I was looking at a lot more time, so I had about 6 years over my head if I didn't complete the program of drug court, which I was in drug court for about 2 years. Yeah. With one of the most.
What's drug court? Because I know I didn't know what it was until I met you, and then I went to other things, and I saw
my graduation. Yeah, it's a program. You have a PO. You go to court, and basically, you're pretty much in jail, but you're out of jail. It's a very strict program. You have to do, you have to do all these classes. You have curfew. You have all this stuff. But even though it was so hard and crazy at times, it definitely saved my life. And even though I had one of the craziest probation officers in the world, Lori Dyer, she's nuts.
Hi, Lori.
Yeah, hi, Lori.
But look at what. That's why we needed. She needed Lori.
I needed Lori, I guess, at times. But yeah, I don't know. It was so structured, and it taught me how to change the way that I thought. That whole victim mentality that everyone's out to get you and da-da-da. I stopped and changed the way I thought and processed things on a daily basis and took charge of my life. Everything. I didn't have my license. I literally lost everything. And then even when I was in jail, my boyfriend died. So he overdosed from drugs, which was really crazy. And that was the first year of my sobriety was pretty challenging, because I was having to deal with guilt even from that. Yeah. And that's just crazy. So I'm blessed for the life I have now, and that could have been me. I've OD'd numerous times. I've been hospitalized so many times, and these drugs are no joke, and that's why we just really want you guys to get better.
Girl, it is a miracle. It's just a miracle. like literally when I go back to that 2014 invitation, I would never know, like, you just can't give up on people. And it's hard when, because addicts are liars, they're selfish, they're narcissists, but it's like when you see something in someone, like, just be there for them. Like, go out of the way, take them to a meeting, pray for them, invite them to church, and whatever you got to do, go sit with them, bake a cake. I don't know what people do, but it's just, this is like, Shay came from a very good family. I mean, her dad is a famous hockey player. She had a good life, but she took a wrong turn. And during all that mess, I mean, she turned it around. You have to, like, let go of that woe is me, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, and then how is that, like, somebody telling you what to do, like, and how to get your daughter back and do this. I mean, how is even, like, that process? Like, that's pretty humbling.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was hard.
Like,
so I had a social worker case open too, and I had to have a social worker follow me. And first I only had my daughter for 2 hours, and then, you know, she would go with me and then be taken away. And then it went from, well, first, actually, no. So I got transferred into the farm while I was in jail. So London wouldn't quite know exactly.
My phone is blowing up, you guys. I'm such a busy real estate. Just decline it. That's not my client.
Someone wants a house. But yeah, wow. so with London, you know, that was very, very hard. But I told myself I was going to do whatever I had to do, and I was going to let go and just do what I was told for once, instead of acting like I know.
Rough.
Yeah, just acting like I know how things need to be done. And trust me, there were times, I mean, I did a few sanctions in jail while in drug court because Lori and I bumped heads, and I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I'm not talking about, I've never relapsed, anything like that. It was like curfew things, like little things that I was still testing, or people that I hung out with, you know. And she showed me, like, these aren't the people for you. You know, you need to not, those aren't your friends. And it's nothing personal at the time, but at the time it's like, okay, I was like a baby almost, okay? Like, I've been living a certain way for so many years, and I'm literally having to relearn everything.
Yes.
You know, who I am, what I like. I didn't even really know what I liked anymore. It was like I turned into this person that either liked what my relationship, who I was in relationships with, because, you know, I loved so hard that I loved what they loved. I ended up, you know what I mean? And so it was like, so I had to seriously, like, learn, what does Shay love? What do I like? What's even my style? You know, I've done this, like, dark, like, I don't know. So anyway, back to, well,
that's the cat.
That's the cat. But so it was very humbling and very hard. And, you know, that was what led me to a lot of my relapses were in the past, was just the fact of what I was, like, putting my daughter through. And because in my mind, I just always could do better. And even though that shouldn't necessarily lead to a relapse, because then I'm going back with the guilt, you know, the guilt was so hard for me. And so, I definitely had to feel everything that I did, you know, seeing her and how hard that had to have been for her. You know, it started when I did get transferred to the farm, like, so I would have contact visits. And that was very hard, just knowing that in my own head, like, wow, you're a real piece of shit. You're in jail right now. Even though she didn't know that, she knew I wasn't at home though, you know? And so having to do an hour with the social worker, and then have, you know, once I got out, doing 2 hours, like, at the park, and then, you know, it'd go from 4 to 8 to overnight. And this was all within, like, 6 months. And I'm, you know, fighting, and I'm in drug court, and then I was also in custody court. And they were super proud of me. I mean, I got everything right on time. You know, I was doing everything asked of me, and now I have 50-50 custody, you know.
That's so amazing.
And life is amazing. So it definitely was not easy, and it was embarrassing, and I felt like a piece of shit, you know.
Bleep, bleep.
But beep, beep, beep. But I'm just grateful. Look where I'm at now, and even all the tragedy, like, I have another baby, you know, my Dakota, and I have my husband, and, you know, even though so many, I mean, we can get into how David and I would definitely want him on here one time too.
Gosh,
that would be good. And your husband.
And my husband. I mean, we have so many friends that we're excited to, like, just share everyone's experience, strength, and hope. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, because even if you're not an addict, you definitely know one.
Yeah.
And there's just, we want to give you guys hope.
Yes.
Right?
I think the world needs that.
Hope, yeah. Like, and a little happiness along with it. Like, so that's.
And just when you think that, like, you've messed up too much or whatever, like, there's no turning back. Like, trust me, there is. Like, I was in jail and lost everything. And there was parts of me that believed everyone was better off without me, but it's not true. It's not true. And that's just the addiction. That's your mind.
Yeah,
like,
and you keep going. I went to her drug court graduation, and up on the big, huge screen, there was 6, what do you call them? DUI?
Booking photos.
Is it the booking photos? I thought there was another, whatever booking photos.
Every time, I'd go to jail.
And wow, somebody on the outside would look at this girl and be like, she is a lost cause. Like, there's 6 photos, skinnier and skinnier each time.
Different hair colors, different
your eyes. And then I would look at your weight every time, like, she's getting skinnier and skinnier. Like, she's about to be 2 pounds. And somebody would give up on someone like her, but you don't. And even you, for you to have all that happen, and you finally are like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, that is a miracle.
Yes.
And even for people out there, like, it's okay, you relapse, you be honest and authentic. And I think a lot of the times when you are doing so good, because I know that had happened to me when I was sober for a long time, and then I relapsed, I was scared. So then I just went all the way deep and ended up getting worse. So to let people know too that there's no shame. Like, if you relapse, like, it's okay. You tell your friends, you go to a meeting, like, you reset, like, it's okay.
Yes.
And there's no shame in that. Like,
I agree.
Right? So I just want to thank Shay, sharing her story, being brave, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And I hope that I know somebody's life was touched and that they can relate. And we're going to set it up on this to where, I don't know if you can go to our Instagrams.
Yeah.
Say your Instagram handle.
Mrs. 2_ Shay.
Yeah, 2 underscores, because that gets confusing.
Yeah. I mean, make sure there's 2.
Why 2?
Because I know, I don't know, there might be. There used to be when it was Miss. People would get tagged. This girl got so irritated.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
So, Miss Shay, and if you guys have any questions, which we encourage you guys, DM her, DM me, Jennifer Hosoi on Instagram.
Real estate.
And
let's get that
Jennifer
straight.
Hosoi, realtor.
Realtor.
Wait a minute, I think I have a couple underscores too. I'm all talking smack. I do. You know, Jennifer Hosoi, double. There might even be 3 underscores. I'm not sure.
We're connected though, so if you find mine or if you find hers, you'll find mine.
Us, guys. Stay tuned, because there's a lot more coming your way.
Yes. Need like a song to tune in.
Yeah, like we need a song to fade us out, and then maybe like that Instagram, like with some music. Like,
don't you think?